Gas masks and grenades. Gas masks and grenades. Gas masks and grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades.
Hey, what is shaking out there in YouTube world? It is me, Jeff, and this is Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. I'd like to welcome Mr. Davey Ferchow. Did I get it right?
You did.
From the band Dry Wedding. We've been chatting, you and I, on Instagram for a little while here, and we have the dubious distinction of having a commonality in a musical personality that we happen to know. Well, a couple of them, actually. There's a couple of them. And for me, it's my nemesis. For you, he's probably a good buddy. That's a joke, everybody. It's a joke, okay? But we actually have a common friend in John Holm who did some work for you on this new album that we're going to talk about here. And he actually clued me into you guys back in August, I think it was, I believe. That's when your band opened for Agalot, correct?
Yeah, August of last year. Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's August of last year already, a year ago. I mean, they've been back, I guess they've been back about 2.5 years, something like that, or since they've kind of reconvened and started playing shows. And you just saw them, not last weekend, the weekend before?
Yeah, Fire in the Mountains.
Yeah. So we're going to get into that because I'm very jealous and extremely jealous because I was supposed to be there. And yeah, it's a long story. But Davey, welcome to Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. You're here to talk about your band, Dry Wedding. Their third album, your collectively third album, which just came out this past Friday on July 31st.
Yep.
On Vesperian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is called The Back of Beyond. And if you look behind our pictures, you can kind of see some of the artwork. But we'll actually pull that up here in a little bit and show the painting that was done by Adam Burke, I think.
Yep.
So far, I'm batting 1,000, right?
You are.
All right, cool. Hey, nice to meet you, man. Yeah, when John told me about you guys, he's like, you should check these guys out. You like 16 horsepower and you like that twangy, gothy, haunted country sort of vibe with more metallic and heavy edges to it. And you should check them out. And I promptly didn't. I'm just going to be honest. I'm just going to be honest with you. I promptly did.
No, I mean, there's a lot of things to check out in the world, a lot of things to listen to. I can't.
It's never ending, and my inbox is constantly being hit with different PR groups that send me albums that 9 times out of 10, man, I know almost, not always, but I know pretty quickly, like 1 or 2 songs in, I'm like, yeah, that's not me. Don't send me brutal death metal, guys. I'm just not a brutal death metal guy anymore. I'm sorry. I love old school death metal. Big difference there, man. It's got a lot of breakdowns in it. I'm not your boy. But yeah, I didn't get around to checking it out. And then I know your name resurfaced a couple other times. And then I'm not exactly sure how we kind of connected, but it just kind of happened and you're here. And so how has the response to the album been so far? I mean, it's early days, obviously, but how you like pre-orders and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. The first record we did, we split it with a very small label based in Spokane, just an old buddy of mine from many years ago. And then the second album we self-released, and there was a 2-year gap between it being digitally released and us finally getting the record out since we were, financing it ourselves.
Right.
And so this one's kind of like the first one with some like proper label backing. So it's been really cool to see, how we're reaching new people and kind of, getting coverage in new places. And like we just recently got a really amazing review in Decibel. And,
wicked. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So, Envisions magazine overseas, which, is a pretty big deal over there, gave us a glowing review. So it's been really nice to kind of see the coverage in these magazines and the coverage be good. And so far, I mean, as far as I can tell, the amount of copies that are moving, far exceeds what we usually
Good.
sell. So yeah, I'm very happy about that.
That's a great sign right there in and of itself. I mean, it's kind of hard unless you have a famous name or you're attached to some famous scene, which we'll talk about the Portland scene in a little bit here. But it's kind of hard in today's. I mean, there's a twofold way of looking at it. Back in my day, back in the oldies days, graybeards and all, there was a very defined machine for producing and codifying the arts, putting it out there, creating product, and creating a stream of a cattle chute to get to that product. So I'm thinking 70s, 80s. You had 80s, you had the MTV generation. 70s, you had AM radio into FM radio. 90s, then it starts to get nebulous. You had the Seattle thing, which kind of blew up, and the Nirvana thing, which kind of like exploded in a giant atomic bomb on the industry. And then you get to the 2000s, man. You get to the digital age, and just shit starts to get really wonky, and it becomes this, for me, I just was saying that I get so much material in that, and I love music, man. I mean, if you looked in my music collection, it's everything from ABBA to Zappa to Miles Davis to Psy to Yob to, there's just everything's in there more or less. Except new metal. Okay, I lie. I might have one or two new metal CDs too. Maybe one or two. Just that's it. That's all I'll admit to. But even I get tired of it after a while. It's like, man, it's like just constant inundation. And I think that's maybe the one negative about digital recording. Everybody can be a rock star now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hard to weed out the good from the bad, and after a while, you just get kind of burnt out. I mean, how many Worm bands can you listen to? How many Agalock bands can you listen to? You know what I mean? Or how many Suffocations can you listen to before you're like, dude, I'll just go to the original one and stay there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. And I mean, I talk about that all the time with people, it's like I can record an album on my iPhone now, and then have it uploaded to the internet that same day. Which is amazing. I mean, I'm glad people have access to these things that they maybe did not have access to before. But with that comes, just a ton of white noise. There are so many people recording music, putting it up online, sharing it, trying to, win over an audience with it. And it kind of, it can clog things up for some bands that are actually trying to, get out there and tour and do that whole thing. But I mean, even on my end, clearly, like, I am a collector.
Clearly, very cool.
And I even have a hard time just sifting through all the stuff that's constantly coming out. It's just overwhelming.
Well, okay, so if I may ask, you look like a pretty young dude. I mean, compared to me. Like I said, I just told you I'm 60. I'm gonna guess you're 30 something, maybe
39.
Oh, okay. You're looking good for 39, dude. You're looking young. I was thinking more like 31 or 32. I'm going to be honest with you. That's a good it's a good problem to have. Keep hanging on to that. Thank you. So you're almost 40. So it's not like you're a super young dude. You've been in the game since your teens, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. When did you kind of come into music? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, there were a couple different times where an acoustic guitar kind of came into the picture, and I would kind of mess around with it, but not too much. But then when I was kind of in my mid-teens, I got more interested in it, and I got like my first electric guitar and an amp and all those things. And I had this little tape recorder that I would record little demos on. And at that time, like, I was starting to get very interested in punk. So they're kind of like these weird, like, solo, just like me yelling and playing weird guitar stuff,
right?
Demos. And then throughout high school, like, I tried to start a band a few times and it wasn't really panning out. But there was a class at my school called musicianship, where, you would collaborate with other students and you would perform, I think, 4 times per quarter. And that was literally the whole class.
Wow.
And I became good friends with the guy around that time. We took this class together, and then as we were leaving high school and starting college, we ended up forming like a band with a few other guys, and so yeah, when I was 18, that was like my first real band as far as like playing shows and touring and releasing records and doing all of that.
And that was a punk type band, or?
Yeah, it was like a 80s hardcore
Okay.
punk band, and I sang in that or yelled in that.
Yelled, right.
Yeah.
What were some of the early influences for you? Like for me, I always tell the story that the gateway drug for me was Kiss. I'm a child of the 70s. I was born in 66, but so but I didn't really find out about bands like, heavy metal until like Priest in 79. And, I was more into Yes and Rush and progressive music and AOR pop, I mean, that kind of the ABBA stuff and things like that. And I will never, ever be embarrassed about that ever. But I mean, Kiss and Alice Cooper were probably my two gateway drugs into heavier music. What was your gateway? It sounds like punk, like maybe pop punk, early pop punk.
I mean, there was some pop punk stuff that was kind of coming into fashion when I was at an age where that would have been appealing. Yeah, like I loved Green Day when I was a kid, and bands like that. But also I loved a lot of classic rock bands because that's what my parents and my uncles were listening to and kind of passing along to me. Mm-hmm. And then in my teens, right before I got super into punk, I got very into Nirvana, to kind of loop it back to your mention of the Seattle scene.
Yeah.
I became like obsessed with Nirvana. And through them, that was kind of my gateway to these other things. Also, I've said this in some other interviews, but when I was 13, my dad passed away, and
sorry.
It's okay. He had some alcohol and substance abuse issues throughout my life, and that's kind of what ultimately did him in. But he listened to there's a very famous Southern California station called K-Rock, which heard of. And so I was exposed to all that like alternative music of the early 90s through him.
Okay.
My mom would listen to the oldies station, so I was getting like Motown and like
very cool
girl groups and things through her. And then like through my dad, I was getting like Nirvana, the Butthole Surfers, like, all this stuff that was getting played on K-Rock at the time. And then when he passed away, my grandma had some of his stuff, and she was like, hey, do you want to you guys sort through this, take whatever you want. And I was going through his tape collection, and it was like some stuff that was like very of that time period, like 311 or stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But the tape that I took that had the biggest impact on me was he had Black Flag Damaged.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I still have that tape. It's like the old like Unicorn pressing cassette. Nice. Yeah, before the whole lawsuit thing happened. And that just like I was getting into Nirvana, and then like as I started to get into bands through Nirvana, like bands that Kurt Cobain loved and whatnot, or bands that they covered, like the Wipers. It was this Black Flag tape, and I was just like so enamored with it. And then after that, I was like, okay, I used to listen to classic rock stuff, and I'm getting into this punk stuff. So I like went back to like the beginning of punk, and I got into, like Sex Pistols, Ramones, The Clash. And then I just kept moving like through the late 70s into the 80s. And then as I got more and more obsessed with punk, 80s hardcore really became like my bread and butter.
Okay.
The American stuff. And then, so that kind of shaped some of the earlier bands I was in, because we were very much, into that stuff.
Of that ilk. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How did, tell us a little bit about Dry Wedding and how, when, where, and everything. You're in Portland. You're based in Portland, correct? Mm-hmm. Are you a Portland born and bred, or were you a transplant, or?
Yeah. So I grew up in Southern California, and
that's what I wondered. Okay.
Yeah. And then I moved here in 2017. So 9 years ago now. And Yeah, I mean, I had been playing in bands in Southern California. I was in punk bands and post-punk bands down there. And the last band I did down there was kind of like this twangy, westerny post-punk kind of thing. But I was working with a guy that had some more kind of pop sensibilities. Like he was like coming from like the Smiths and the Cure kind of inspiration. So then when I was getting ready to move, I started posting Craigslist ads even a few weeks before I left, just trying to get the ball rolling. And I was like, I want to take this like westerny post-punk thing, but I want to push it further. I want to make it like weirder and more aggressive and heavier. Because that's just where my interests were. Yeah, I moved up here, started trying out all different kinds of people, inviting strangers over to my basement to see, you know, if it was a good fit or not. And
a dangerous thing to do in these times.
Yeah. And then eventually, like a group of guys I had been working with, it just wasn't really panning out. So I kind of just started from scratch. And then I got connected with Tom, our drummer, via Craigslist. And then not too long after that, Jared, who plays guitar and plays synth occasionally. And then we had a different bass player at that time. And about, so we've that lineup formed in like summer 2018, beginning of 2019, we started playing out live. And then summer 2019, our bass player is like, hey, I don't think this is the best fit for me. And so he moved on, and we got Chadwick, who has been in the band ever since. And then he had like 2 months to learn all the songs and write a new song with us so we could go record.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So he kind of just hit the ground running. And yeah, we've had that same lineup ever since summer.
So you've been a going concern for going on 8 years.
Yeah.
More or less. Yeah. Which was there a reason to go to Portland? Was it a job, a girl, or something like that?
Yeah. I had always like been interested in moving here. I mean, at least throughout my adult life, like playing in bands and touring and coming through town. Every time I'd kind of leave with the feeling that, I can see myself ending up here someday. So at the time I was dating a girl, and it just came up in conversation, and she said, yeah, I've always wanted to move up there too. My grandparents live up there. And so I was like, okay,
cool.
Let's do it. That relationship didn't pan out so well, but it got me to Portland, and
there's that then. There you go. So yeah, going up there, I mean, obviously I think anybody that's in the metal sphere or music sphere in general, I mean, you think about when I think about Portland, I think obviously Agalloch, that's the big connection for me. But there's a lot of other bands and music scenes. I mean, the Soleil Moon, I think they're called Soleil Moon. You know that label?
Yeah,
that was, I believe, they're a Portland based. Am I wrong about that, or Oregon based? Right?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember.
But are you familiar with who that is?
Yeah.
Like the Muslim Gauze, and I mean, there's Daniel Menchie. I don't know if you know him. He's a Portland guy. He's worked with John. There's a lot of stuff happening there. It's got a pretty vibrant music scene because it's a pretty vibrant, I guess you'd call it kind of hipster town, maybe in a lot of ways. I old guys like me would call it hipster, but I mean, it's kind of cosmopolitan in a lot of ways. It's obviously pretty liberal, and it's got a more global sort of vision as opposed to, bumfuck Alabama or something like that. No disrespect to bumfuck Alabama, but I'm not going there. And you've seen my Instagram, so you know where I'm coming from, I'm sure. What did you find when you got there? Did you find it was pretty happening? Was there a lot to do? Was there a lot to get involved in there, or was it a struggle to kind of make stuff happen?
No, I mean, I did the Craigslist thing forming the band just because, I did know a good handful of people up here who were musicians, but they were all just very much involved in their band, or in some cases multiple bands. So I was like, I'm not going to bug them. I'm going to try and find some other people. But yeah, I mean, the one thing that I've always loved about Portland, and that was very apparent to me right after moving here, is that the music scene isn't clicky here. It's
Ah,
not like growing up in Southern California, like based on like cities, based on genres, subgenres, things just felt very separate and in their own little pockets. Whereas like Portland, you could go to, a post-punk show one week and then go to a black metal show the next week and see a couple of the same people,
yeah, yeah.
and or whatever the case may be. It's just like people here, it feels like I won't say they're more open-minded than like, other people, but it's just, it does feel like there is more
Curiosity about what else is out there other than being locked into one thing.
Yeah, and I just don't think like people here care as much about being like, oh, I'm identified as being a part of this scene or
Yeah.
this group of people. Like they just want to experience all these different types of music. And another mutual friend of ours, Hunter, like him and I have talked about this. It's like all of the crossover with like these like dark forms of music, so yeah, death metal or black metal or post-punk or noise rock or whatever. There's all these little tiny overlaps, and it's just, I think a lot of people can recognize that and have interest in all these different types of things. So that's always been something I've admired about Portland. And I will say the one thing that was interesting is like, and I know we kind of talked about this before the call started, but we like at first, yeah, we kind of were like positioning ourselves as like this post-punk band or whatever, and we were playing these goth shows, and it kind of became pretty apparent rather quickly that it was kind of a funny fit as far as us being on some of these bills, especially because I feel like in recent years, like the post-punk or goth music that people are making are, a lot of it is leaning into that dance music,
Yeah, yep.
Drum machines, laptops, and it's like, and a lot of it is just very much pop music, but kind of soaked in reverb and delay, and
very high energy and very much about I mean, I don't know the culture because one of my good friends is like an old school goth. He's pushing 50, but I know that he took me to a goth club in Jersey after the Wayfarer Orense Pazuzu show 2 months ago. I hadn't been in one of these places in forever. Now you look at me; I'm not exactly like Joe, conservative, preppy, Izod wearing dude. I'm pretty gnarly looking in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? I'm like, who's that freaky weirdo, But I was very much a buzzed hair professional until about 15, 18 years ago in my outside music life, right? So
yeah.
I probably wouldn't have gone. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't have gone in a place like this. I would have gone with him. I wouldn't have gone on my own to a place like this. Let's put it that way. But we went in there, and it was just like in each room of this place in Jersey, I think it's called XYZs or something like that. There was like a goth room. There was a metal room. There was a high EBM room. There was a more like, your style of music in that kind of almost nebulous noise post-punk sort of thing. And I was like, man, I could fit in any one of these rooms, like, because I have that wide a palette. A lot of people don't have that, but you're right. It was interesting to walk in and see the various. This was still pretty clicky though. Like in the EBM room, everybody looked like they were doing MDMA, and they were like, higher than kites, and they're all like, very flowery, shall we say. In the metal room, you got the dudes with the long hair and the sunglasses on, and you're like, man, is that guy gonna pull a gun out and shoot me, or like, what's the deal? That kind of vibey looking thing. So I get where you're coming from, but this newer, it's not like the old stuff, the Sisters of Mercy, because like we can get into this now. I mean, I hear a ton of Fields of Nephilim, which is one of my favorite bands. I hear a ton of Sisters of Mercy. I hear some. Well, here's one right here. I don't know if you know this band, but I have to sew this. But you know this band at all?
Yeah.
I hear that in your music quite a bit. I hear Scott Walker hugely, man. It took me a while, and I'm like, this guy's voice reminds me of somebody. Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Do you know Scott Walker?
Scott Walker is my favorite singer of all time.
Okay, well, then it makes complete sense now because
he's my vocal North Star. That's the
this new album is like if you took Scott Walker from the Drift and dropped it onto a 16 horsepower meets Calexico. Do you know Calexico? You should.
Yeah,
I
saw you add that in the description. I've maybe listened to like a couple songs by them.
You should check them out.
Also, I will admit I've never really spent a lot of time with The Mission, and you're not the first person to make that comparison. But again, I've maybe heard like
it's nebulous, but it's there because mainly because Wayne Hussey has that deep kind of that resonant sort of Scott Walker-y voice, maybe a little bit less weird. Don't take that the wrong way because Scott Walker's weird. Let's be honest. I mean, he's the Drift. When I got that album, like I'm good friends with Steven Wilson. I don't know if you know who that is. Porcupine Tree, solo stuff. He got me into he got me into Scott Walker. I only own the Drift. That's the only album, and if probably not the album to start. With
interesting. Yeah, like I mean, like I first fell in love with his like early run of solo records where he has this really kind of rich
Baroque.
baritone.
Yeah.
And so vocally, I pull a lot from that, but also I do pull vocal stuff from the later material. And I think musically, I also find that very intriguing. I like his approach, this like blocks of sound approach that he had with those later records. And as someone who has, become quite a metalhead over the years, I think like the Drift and Bish Bosh and these later Scott Walker records are arguably more terrifying than like some of the most extreme metal records.
Without question, man. They're some of the most avant you're gonna hear, man. I mean, they're terrifying is a good word for it. Unsettling would be another one.
Yeah.
You can't listen to those two albums and not be like, what the fuck drugs is this guy on writing this music? Like, what is happening there? Very experimental, very weird. And I would ascribe some of those words to your band in some ways. And I don't mean them in a negative connotation or in any way, shape, or form as I think it's actually kind of a cool thing to have someone say that. I would appreciate that because you're not easily boxed in. Travis mentions the Gun Club. I was like, oh yeah, the Gun Club. That's do you know them?
Of course. Yeah. I'm a huge Gun
very
fan. So yeah, I like I said, I was in a band before that was kind of like this westerny post-punk thing. The Gun Club were a major influence on that band. And while we were making our full-length album, I showed the, rough mixes to a friend and she was like, oh, you must like 16 horsepower. And I was like, oh, I've never listened to them before. And she like was like, listen to Sackcloth and Ashes. And she like bought a CD and like just gave it to me. And I was just instantly obsessed, especially because I was like, this sounds like the second coming of like Jeffrey Lee Pierce.
You know him. I don't know him. I'll have to check him out then.
Well, Jeffrey Lee Pierce from the Gun Club. The
Gun Club. Oh, yeah.
Like when I heard Sackcloth and Ashes, I'm like, oh my God. Like, it felt like kind of like, like the second coming of Jeffrey Lee Pierce. And then as much as I love the Gun Club and how influential they were on me, 16 horsepower eclipsed them in my life and the way that I love music. And I mean, now they're just such a massive influence. Them and Woven Hand, of course.
Right. I remember very vividly. I guess it was 96 that came out. I don't know why I was thinking that was more like closer to 2000, but I remember being in a store in the 90s, and that it was kind of the advent of the CD store where it was just CDs because vinyl was dead at that point in time. You really, unless you went to old, Salvation Army or, secondhand places, you could buy vinyl for next to nothing back then. And I'll never forget walking into this place called XYZ was the name of that was really, honestly, it's weird that those were I didn't even realize it. That CD store and this goth club I were at actually literally had almost the same name. I just connected that. But I walked in and Sackcloth and Ashes was playing. And at that time, 96, I'm very deep in the Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Jane's Addiction, Saigon Kick, post, because I'm not gonna lie, I was a hair metal dude. I grew up in the 80s, so Dokken and Rat and Crew and those bands were, that was, I was coming from the Tears for Fears and Flock of Seagulls, all those bands I love, but I was getting into the Maidens and stuff in the early 80s and the mid 80s. And so I was very much a metal guy at that stage in my life. And I walk in and I'm listening to this and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Black Soul Choir. You're like, what is this? It's like, I kind of like right away had the vivid image of being in like West Virginia somewhere. And I'm driving into Deliverance territory. And this is the music I'm hearing up on some ramshackle porch somewhere with a couple of dudes, jamming out on banjos and upright bass and just a 3-piece kit. And I'm like, this is the weirdest shit I've ever heard. And I went up to Paul, the owner of the place. I'm like, dude, what is this? He's like, it's 16 horsepower. We just got it in. I just threw it on. I don't know, man. It's kind of weird. It's kind of unique. I'm like, kind of weird, kind of unique. Fuck yeah, dude. Give me that right now. Give me that CD. And it's become one of my favorite. They're just such a unique band.
Mm-hmm.
Such a unique band. So, but weirdly, I don't hear as much 16 horsepower in your music as maybe you do. And maybe you don't.
So, well, okay. First of all, I want to say I see a question here that asks about how we got signed with the legendary Metal Blade.
I was going to get there. You're not signed to them.
We actually are not signed to Metal Blade. Yeah. That is correct. We are
distribution.
Yeah, Metal Blade is the distributor, but a lot of the reviews or sites that are sharing the news of the album have been saying we're on both.
I know.
But yeah, Metal Blade is our distributor, Vesperian is our label. Yeah, so if they want to know how we got signed with Vesperian, we can touch on that later.
My buddy Rick here brings up the Lords of the New Church. I hadn't thought of that too. There's some vibes there as well. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that first Lords record a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I this is again another thing I've been kind of realizing about what we do lately, but my skills or lack thereof. I've been talking about this with people lately. I have these influences. Like I'm a huge Roland S. Howard fan, like big fan of The Birthday Party. That's like a huge core influence for us. I'm a huge fan of 16 horsepower and Woven Hand, Swans.
Nick Cave was one that Nick Cave, absolutely, that's in there. The Nick Cave sort of vibe is throughout your music.
Yeah, and the thing there would be these moments where I would hear their music and I would kind of try to write something to try and emulate what they were doing, and it would never come out the same way.
Right.
And that used to really frustrate me. I thought maybe, I'm lacking in technical skill or whatever the case may be. And then I kind of started to embrace it as a gift. Okay, you can hear something, and I hear like metal songs or whatever all the time. And I hear a little part in there and I'm like, ooh, I could make that a dry wedding thing. And most people would never be able to take that piece and probably connect it back to its original inspiration. But it's because filtered through me and filtered through the rest of the guys in the band, it becomes mutated. And so it ends up coming out sounding like this other thing. But
which is good. That's what you want.
Yeah. And so that's what I mean. Like, it's like, I used to feel like kind of frustrated with that. And now I'm just like, well, no, because that's how bands kind of get a unique sonic identity. My favorite bands of all time are my favorites because they don't sound like anybody else. So that's, if we can kind of do that even by accident, then I'm happy about that.
Yeah. And I mean, by what I meant, maybe to clarify a little bit, in that it's clear to me that you have some very finite influences that we've already just kind of mentioned. I mean, we just mentioned a bunch of them, but I don't think in any way, shape, or form that I'm sliding off my edge of my chair here. Sorry, got this pillow. There we go. My fat ass out of the way. I don't think you sound like any of those bands that we were talking about. I think maybe the only one place I would say you got a vibe is the Scott Walker thing, and it took me a while. It took me until this afternoon to go, this evening actually, to go, wait a minute, because I think I read somewhere somebody said something about the drift, and I'm like, boom, like I couldn't. Usually I can place things pretty easily because I have such a diverse listening experience and a crazy ass collection of like I don't know, 6,000 different, albums and CDs. But this one was bugging me because I'm like, man, it's not Carl McCoy, it's not Wayne Hussey, it's it's not Tom G. Warrior. What is this? Like, why? I know this guy's voice reminds me of someone. Nick Cave was probably the closest I was coming. But then
yeah, I get that all the time. I get Danzig a lot too.
Nah, I don't hear that so much.
But like those guys are like, they're embedded in my musical DNA. So I'm sure there are little isms, that come out here and there. But it's like, yeah, I don't think I necessarily sound like either of them,
Don't do the yelp. The Yarly yelp. The mother where he does that, mother, that thing. Don't do that. That's strictly a Glenn thing, and really, I don't want to hear that from anybody else.
No, I don't want to do that. But yeah, I've been thinking about that lately. Just kind of the things that are kind of in your musical DNA that you might be tapping into and not even fully realize. But yeah, I think tonally, like there are a lot of differences. There's a lot of differences in technique. But I think when you hear someone kind of doing a baritone croon, and you're into like weirdo underground music, you're probably going to connect me back to Nick Cave or Danzig or, and then when people do slip in the Scott Walker, that just, that makes my
That's
day.
the one. I think if anything, that's the real one that I would go, oh, that's the guy. There's some, and I mean, look, man, I'm a player, I'm a writer, and Alex Lifeson is my god. Rush is my band, will always be my band. Everybody knows that. Everybody watches my shows like, God, can you go one show without mentioning Rush? No, it's not going to happen. Just, put your money down now on when I won't mention it, because you might win some money there. But and I'm going to see them twice in 3 weeks. I'm less than 3 weeks. I'm so stoked. 16 days actually. So, but Alex creeps into everything I do. Every riff I write, every melody I write, it's like, oh, yeah, there's the Lifeson part right there. It just is what it is. You're a product always of the things that you're intaking, and then you're trying to re-engineer it to be your own thing. Not that any of my songs sound like any Rush songs, they don't, but they have. I hear them, I'll be like, there's the Lifeson turnaround part right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's funny too, because like, I mentioned earlier, like growing up playing in punk bands and things, there was a period in time where I really wanted to kind of move away from like shoutier stuff, because I felt like I just would always default back into like, my punk vocal style or whatever.
Right.
But I just, in the last like couple of years, I've just embrace those roots again, and so with this last record, like I peppered that in more, I added that in more, and I know you kind of mentioned that to me before, like there was kind of like this like kind of like punk attitude or approach to some of the more intense vocal pieces. So I guess that's what would kind of make me different than like Scott Walker or something, is because I'm adding that stuff in there too.
Yeah, but speaking of which, let's pull this up here and see if I can do this. I don't have a copy of the album as yet. I will be getting one. Here's the artwork. Very cool, very evocative artwork, obviously. Adam Burke, as we said. And I'm trying to remember, Adam, who's he done that I would know right off the top of my head? Recently? A lot, I know.
I mean, yeah, he... like I could probably turn around and just start picking random records and I would find one fairly quick. I'm trying to think of one he's done recently. There was that older band Loss. He did like one of their covers.
Yep.
My
buddy Rick will help us out. He knows all the artists and what album covers they do, if he's still in the chat there. But it's just a beautifully evocative cover that, leans into a lot of the things that I think you like to talk about in your lyrics, quite frankly. Other times, you know, that old Western sort of thing. Obviously, our friend John Halm, you know, his Nomad solo stuff is very kind of rooted in this old Western, Western cultural sort of vibe from the late 1800s. Very cowboyish. I hate to use that word, but it is obviously there's a cowboy there or whatever, you know, a nightjar illustration. Okay, right. Thank. What was this something he submitted to you, or did you give him some ideas, or how'd that come about with the artwork?
Yeah, so we worked with him for the cover of the second album, and that one was just a piece he had already created and that he was just, you know,
right,
licensing. So then when we were working on this record, we were like, oh, it would be cool to actually commission something where we could kind of pitch him a concept and then have him create something from that. And so we had him actually, it's a rectangular painting, so it's the front cover and the back cover. I mean,
right.
The back cover is not going to be on here, but
right.
I have the rectangular painting upstairs in my living room. But yeah, we came up with the concept. I don't even think we were done with the music yet, but we started to see these kind of themes with the lyrics and kind of came up with this concept. And then he got real excited. He sent me a bunch of paintings from Western paintings that use this kind of blue color palette.
Right.
And he's like, what about something like this? And I was like, yeah, that's great. And then so he came up with this. We added a few little extra touches of light kind of dappled throughout. And then he just completely knocked it out of the park with this. And
Rick mentioned Ancients, the last Ancients album. Man, that's where I was like, yeah, now it makes sense. That album artwork was badass. Those are buddies of mine. They're an amazing band.
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the best artists out there, you know, that is like consistently working with metal bands. I swear 1 in 5 metal records I get have his.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah. Him and Paolo and you know, I mean, it used to be like the Repkas and Seagraves. Now the new, what's the Brad Moore? Is he the other guy, the Worm guy?
Yeah, he did like Worm and Tumult, and
yeah, he's more in that vein for that kind of style of metal. I mean, it definitely, you know, there was a time, I don't know if you remember this well, you'd have probably been kind of young, but you know, the Travis Smith stuff was all the rage through the, you know, all the Swedish bands, Opeth and Catatonia and stuff. Yeah. And he had a very distinctive style, which is what you want. You know, the Lewandowski stuff, all that.
I was going to say Lewandowski. Yeah.
Let me pull this down for a minute while we continue to talk. Then we are going to play a song near the end and let you kind of comment on where you at as far as time. How you sitting for time?
I can go as long as
okay, because I typically am pretty wordy and mouthy. So if you probably notice, you watch some of my stuff. I think you've got a vibe on who and what I am, because I got some stuff I want to get to. So the band starts in 18, and you have a lineup change or two in the bass department, or just one?
Just one in 19, okay. Yeah.
So you guys have been consistent for about 8 years as the core group?
Yeah, what year is it? Yeah, like 7 years. Yeah,
7 years. 7 years. Yeah, which is unusual because most bands don't last past 2 years, right? Yeah. How much touring have you been able to do as far as extensivity? I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean we did like a 10-day West Coast trip in 2023, and then in 2024 we did 16 shows in 17 days.
Wow.
The northern part of the United States. So we started in Portland, looped all the way back out, you know, to DC, and New York and back.
Oh, you were on the East Coast. Nice.
Yeah, just DC and New York, and then we kind of went back through like the northern half of the United States. So that was a real.
Were you supporting someone, or were you on your own?
On our own.
Wow.
And now we're at the point where, you know, we want to do more touring next year. But yeah, of course, you know, we would love to be able to maybe do a run with a with a band of more notoriety, you know, so we're not just kind of trying to pull people in without really anybody knowing who we are. We are talking about doing Europe next year. Are you familiar with that German black metal band Ultha?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ralph, who's kind of the main guy in that band, he's trying to get us over next year. So we would do like a small run of shows with them, and then probably tack on some shows before or after, you know, hopefully with another band.
A Lunar Shadow, yeah. Rick is like, I think I know a lot about music, but Rick is like me. He's a sponge for millions of types of music. I don't know how crazy his collection is. It's crazy. He's my Philly guy. We go to a ton of shows. You've seen him in, excuse me, you've seen him in pictures on my Instagram. He's the Dreadful Minutes is his YouTube channel, and he knows shit that, you know, it's like he pulls all this stuff out of the air. I'm like, dude, okay, I didn't know that. So, but he's up on all the stuff. He's a pathological Bandcamp guy, a rabbit hole Bandcamp guy, where he gets in there, and the next thing you know, he's sending me links to, hey, this is, you know, this, you should check this out. You should. They're having a sale at so and so. He's like the worst guy for my bank account ever. So Rick, fuck you. I don't send me these things. I'm just kidding. I love the dude to death. But yeah, I was just kind of curious. Did you only do the one show with Agalloch in Portland?
Yeah, just the one.
Okay, because that was a homecoming sort of thing for them, right?
Yeah, they had done a show in 2023.
That was the first one, yeah.
And that was like the first one after not playing for a long time. And then, yeah, they were doing Northwest Terror Fest last year.
Yep.
And they were doing Ashes Against the Grain from start to finish. And I was having lunch with John and a few other friends one day, and he was like, oh, maybe we should do that show in Portland, and like you guys should play. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that would be great. And I thought he was just kind of like, you know, throwing a random idea out there. And then literally like 2 minutes later, he's on his phone, like texting their booking agent, texting the rest of the band, being like, hey, I think we should do the show. I think we should do it at Revolution Hall. Like, I want this band to play here. Like, check them out. They're great. And like, yeah, literally, like, I was like, well, let's see if it actually happens.
Happens, right?
And then, yeah, like a week later or whatever, John messages me and he's like, oh yeah, our agent has like a couple of days held at Revolution Hall, and yeah, it's happening. And I was like, all right. And so it was really cool too, because John's solo project opened,
right?
And then we got to play in the middle. So we got to play right before Agalloch, which was,
so you had a good crowd at that point.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
I'm actually seeing them next Saturday in New York, going up to see them in Brooklyn. So, which I think we talked about, I really wanted to come out to Montana, and I actually had started to lay the groundwork for it to happen, but I have some health issues, and looking back at it now with what I heard about how hot it was, I don't think I would have done very well at all. In fact, I know I wouldn't have done well. My nervous system issues cannot take intense heat.
Yeah.
And that would have derailed me pretty hard. I don't even know if I'd have made it through the whole thing. Now, to be blunt with you, I initially, when 16 horsepower was announced, I'm like, oh, come on, really? Like, really? You got to be kidding me. And as I said, I saw Shane and Wayfarer in New York and Philly. Actually, I saw that Wayfarer Rancy tour 3 days in a row. I went to Philly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went to Philly because I live about an hour and a half northwest of Philadelphia. Like not far from the capital of Pennsylvania, Harrisburg. I'm kind of in between Harrisburg and Philly. And Baltimore for me, so it's an hour and a half to Philly. It's an hour to Baltimore. It's like straight down 83. It's a simple in and out. So they were playing Maryland Death Fest the day after Philadelphia, and I couldn't get a ticket. And that was like the first show that sold out of all their stuff. That was the one that sold out like that. Yeah. And I'm like, I guess I'm not going. And I was meeting friends for the Philly show, and I was sitting in my car, and I was on a waiting list on Tixel, which I'd never used before, so I had no idea what was going to happen. I'm sitting there talking to my buddy going, hey, man, I was going to come down for Destruction. I was going to go down on Saturday, which was the day that Wayfarer and Aranci were playing New York. And I had kind of had it that I'd go to Philly to see Wayfarer and Aranci, and then I'd go to Saturday. I'd take a day off on Friday and go to Death Fest for Destruction and Creator, and that was the only day I was going to go, because the last 2 years I've gone all 5 days, and it's kicked my ass.
That's a lot.
Really kicked my ass, man. With my health issues, it really beat me up. Plus, I didn't help myself because I was drinking back then, and I'm not really doing that now. But I'm sitting there on the phone, and I called Nick, and I'm like, hey, I just had talked to my friend Serge, who lives up in Jersey. He's like, dude, I'll buy your ticket to Aranci and Wayfarer if you come with me to Brooklyn. Or I think they were playing Brooklyn. Les Poissons Rouge. No, that's Manhattan. I'm like, do I want to go see Aranci again? I hadn't yet seen him. I'm sitting in Philadelphia waiting to meet friends. I'm about to go see them in Philly. Amazing. Best duo bill I think I've maybe ever seen in my life between those two bands. And I'm like calling my buddy at MDF. He's down at MDF on the first day, and I'm like, dude, Serge wants me to come up to New York. I think I'm going to go out to New York. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to go. And just as I'm on the phone with him, a Tixel thing pops up for a Friday night in Baltimore for Aranci, and I'm like, oh, I'm coming down to Baltimore tomorrow. And he's like, wait, what the fuck are you doing, dude? He's like, you're like so ADHD right now. I'm like, yeah, because it all happened like boom, boom, boom. But I got to see those 3 shows, and I talked to Shane about the 16 horsepower thing. I'm like, how did you make that happen? He's like, I just threw it out there, and it was a lot of back and forth. And I know this is a terribly long story. I'm like, I got to go. I got to try to go. But I still was struggling with the cost, flights, because initially I was going to fly out, and it's not a place you can just fly into. You got to have a lot of moving parts to. Yeah. And then I'm like, well, maybe I'll just drive 2,200 miles. You drove a good distance, but nowhere near 2,200 miles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Maybe I'll just do that. And then I started kind of putting the numbers together, and I was like, man, it's like, I'm like, here, I need, do I sell some of my guitars? Do I sell and now kind of am glad I didn't, because I think I would have struggled out there. But tell me about that experience, because, man, I mean, was that your first time going?
Yes. So, yeah, I had been wanting to go for the last several years. I mean, I feel like every single year they have topped themselves.
Yes, they are.
And so, when they started announcing the bands this year, I was like, okay, well, maybe this year I'll go, And then literally the day they announced 16 horsepower, I messaged my bandmate, and I was like, okay, like first US show in 22 years. Like, they're like a top 3 favorite band for me of all time.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to go? And like seriously, like within an hour of them announcing 16 horsepower, we both bought tickets. I'm like, okay, that was like the push we needed, and also, it was kind of cool how things kind of unfolded after that. So we bought those tickets like beginning of November. Then we end up like communicating with Vesperian at the beginning of January, end up, deciding that we would love to work together. So now we're on the same label as Wayfarer and,
Stormkeep.
Yeah. And so that was a really cool connection to have. I'd already been friendly with a couple of the Wayfarer guys. So like we knew, they knew about the band and we're supportive, and we had the connection there, but that was just deepened by this, now we're label mates. And then, so, I think it was in February, they did like a Portland pop-up event for Fire.
I saw that. That's pretty cool. They had you guys play. Yeah.
Yeah. Shane asked us to play that, kind of with the idea that like, he likes to ask bands that have either played the fest before or that they're interested in working with in the future. So I was like, cool. Like maybe we'll get to do the real deal one of these days, which I think we would be a very good fit.
I think you'd be a great fit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, fast forward a little bit, like, my bandmate and I were like, we're driving out there.
Well, hold on. You missed one piece. You missed a big piece. April, this news drops. This little band called Neurosis is the other headliner.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then they just keep announcing more and more bands, and it just keeps getting better and better. And then they're like, oh, Neurosis, the return, is happening, and that blew our minds. We were very excited about that. We went out there, and honestly, I'm not a big festival person generally. It's not my favorite way to consume music. But this is just unlike any festival experience. I mean, not only are you in this like stunning,
wow,
place,
mind blowing.
Yeah, it's just absolutely gorgeous out there, and the way that they work with the local tribe there, the way that they're incorporated into these different panel discussions and different ceremonies, and just all of that was so beautiful and moving. Seeing these incredible bands play on these stages with that backdrop was just
insane.
Yeah, and then all the bands I was most excited about just absolutely floored me. I mean, 16 Horsepower was incredible. Neurosis, I had seen them some years back, and I was like, oh, Aaron Turner is literally the perfect person to bring into this band at this point. And it was just, I just got goosebumps. It was just so powerful. I still can't stop thinking about it.
Did you stay the whole time? Did you stay the whole fest? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I had a good friend of mine that I was going to meet up out there with, and he was not as happy as you. He's an old dude though. He's an older dude. So I think that probably was the difference. I guess when that windstorm came through and wiped out everybody's tents or something like that, there was a crazy 100-mile-an-hour gust of windstorm that came through, and people's tents were flying away and shit. I mean, that would have been me. My tent would have disappeared into the ether, and I'd have been like, now what?
Well, I have a good story for you.
You slept in your van, right?
I had to for a couple nights because of this very thing. So we went and watched a couple bands. We were going back to the campsite, between bands, I don't know, to grab something or whatever. And we're walking up, and I'm like, I think my, sunshade thing on top of my tent flew away. And then my bandmate Jared says, I think our canopy flew away. Oh, and so shit. I walk up, my sunshade is just on the ground. But yeah, the canopy that we had is just gone, and it's nowhere to be found. We had lowered it super low. It was double staked, in every leg, and we ended up finding it 200 yards away by this smoking area and porta potties, and it was just completely mangled.
Oh.
And we told some of the people working the festival about it, and they're like, well, can you fold it up? And we're like, no, it is
trashed
or operable. And so they're like, okay, just kind of push it off of the path, and we'll come and grab it later. And so we did that, and we walked back to the campsite, and then I realized that on its way out, the canopy must have had one of the legs just create this giant slit right in the corner of one of my tent, And so there's this huge hole in my tent. Then I look at another part of it, and one of the poles was splintering pretty bad. Wow. And at this point, it's 7:30 in the evening, so it's still light out. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to call it now. I'm going to take all of this down, and I'm just going to sleep in my van. But yeah, when we were talking to them, they said 60 tents blew away or ripped. A couple of people's windshields got busted because of stuff flying through the air.
Holy shit.
And yeah, I saw the first night sleeping in that van was hell, and the second night was fine because I was so tired I probably could have slept anywhere.
Yeah, right.
So then that last night, about I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes before the last band was supposed to finish, we're like, let's just get on the road and get a hotel somewhere. Why are we sleeping here another night,
Yeah.
So yeah, then we snuck off and we did that, and then killed a couple hours of the drive, and then the following day on our way home, my van broke down.
Oh man.
Like 3.5 hours from Portland, and then so we had to stay a night there while the van got fixed. And
so the excursion cost a little bit more than you had anticipated in the end then, right?
Yeah.
It always does though, right?
Extra hotel stays. I mean, I had dropped a bunch of money on the van before I left to try and hope, try to make it so that didn't happen.
Limp it along, yeah.
But like, it's in great shape. It's like the thing that happened had nothing to do with what I got serviced before. So it's just like, it's a almost 20-year-old van. It only has like 84,000 miles on it, but it's old.
I'm driving a 2013 Tucson with 157 on it. I know, Did you have a favorite other than 16 horsepower? Probably. Did you have a favorite set or two that blew your mind, other than maybe the two headliners because they're kind of obvious?
Yeah, I mean, 16 horsepower and Neurosis just were completely mind blowing.
Did you catch Psy, for example?
I did. Psy's set was so much fun.
Unreal band, man.
I mean, yeah, and the whole stage setup, the theatrical elements very, very much did mirror, the experimentation of their music. The Enslaved set was phenomenal. They were one of the bands I was most excited to see because I had never seen them before. Yeah, and like you said, Psy. Like those are some of the standouts for me.
It's a shame in a lot of ways that the Iranzi Pazuzu joint with Wayfarer was a couple months earlier. If they'd have been able to tie it in maybe in July and have Iranzi, that would have been an amazing thing to see with how hypnotic and insane their fucking live set is.
I just got goosebumps again. So I saw them when they came through like 7 years ago.
And me too.
Yeah, I kept telling people like over and over again, like, if they come through again, you have to see this band. They are one of the best live bands you will ever see in your life.
Unreal.
They are completely in a league of their own, even just beyond the live stage, just all of their records. Like
100%. Nobody sounds like that band, man. Yeah, nobody.
They're just so good at what they do. Again, goosebumps. And then, so yeah, I saw them this last time too, when they came through with Wayfarer, and I was like, oh, I wonder if they'll match that first experience for me. And yeah, 1,000%. It was still.
I saw them at MDF back in 2016, I think it was. Yeah, 9 years ago. Might have been 17, I forget. And I didn't know anything about them. And I was like, what the hell is this, man? Like, it was kind of terrifying in a lot of ways. Like, because it's like it's this hypnotic, psychotic, psychedelic fucking mishmash of styles that never should ever be put together, and they just shouldn't work. And yet I was transfixed. And then when this tour finally came, because it's the last time they'd been here was that time, I believe, I'm pretty sure it was for that joint tour, and I'm like, man, I'm going to every show I can go to. Like, I'm going to just figure out a way to do it, even if I probably got like 5 hours sleep each night, if that, you know what I mean? And was way too hungover on Sunday, but after the New York show. But man, just like, and I was right up front because I'm a short guy. I'm only 5'8", so 5'7.5". So I always push to get up right on the stage. And what blew me away about it was I had seen Wayfarer for the first time back in 23, I think, when they were out for the American Gothic album.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, I think. And they were out with Sonia and...
Oh, yeah, I saw that tour. Yeah,
the death rock band from Boston, I think I can't remember the name of them. I've seen them a couple times. I can't remember the name of them. Was it Final Gasp? Final Gasp?
Yeah, we just said that at the same time.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Jinx. And they were great. They were really, really good. I mean, I know Isaac. I've had him on a couple times, and I know Joe a little bit. I know Shane enough to talk to him. But man, they upped their fucking game. They upped their game. This tour was one of the best I've ever seen, and And Wayfarer was fucking mind blowing, man. They were just absolutely. In fact, at MDF, I thought their set, and I only went that in one night, and I only saw 5 bands, but I think they even surpassed Aranci that night, which was saying a mouthful, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's see. Let's get into a couple other quick things, and then we'll get you out of here in about 15, 20 minutes. I just want to check something out here. So Vesperian, we touched on that a little bit. A pretty new upstart label, I believe. In fact, I think that, I was talking to Isaac last week, I believe, and their new Nocturnes album, I believe, is the first actual album that's been released on the label.
Yeah, they were the first one, yeah.
And the guy that is running it was an Eccentric Media guy, or am I wrong about that? Okay. Yeah. I don't know his name. I apologize. You would.
Yeah, his name's Philip.
There you go.
He worked at Century Media for years, and then like for the last 7 years he was there. He was running the whole thing.
Okay.
But he decided he kind of wanted to get back to the things that he loved about that kind of work in the first place, which is, physical media and kind of like fostering, artists and their creativity. And, I think when a label gets to the size of a Century Media and you're owned by Sony,
yep.
Some of those things start to fall by the wayside. So
it's all about the numbers, man. All about the numbers.
Yeah. And they got really concerned with digital, and he's just like, he loves physical media.
Yep.
He loves like just letting artists do their thing and, doing it authentically and not trying to manipulate that. And yeah, he just wanted to kind of get back to those things that he loved about.
How'd you get connected there?
Well, like I mentioned that band Ultha earlier. So my buddy Ralph from Ultha, ever since the last record, he's been trying to help us connect with a label. And then kind of at the 11th hour, we were about to work with a smaller German label and kind of just do a like 50-50 split with them.
Okay.
And he's like, let me try this one last thing. So he posts a video on Instagram and says like, there's this band. I love them. They have this great record. They need someone, to like help, bring it to more people. And yeah, Philip saw the video and reached out to him and said, tell me more about this band. I'm intrigued.
Oh, cool.
And after he listened to it a few times and, all the different things going on started to soak in, he was like, okay, wow. Yeah, this band's really interesting. It's different. And so he like asked about setting up a time to meet with me. And so we ended up, just getting on a Google Meet call. And yeah, like at the end of the call, like there was no like, mystery or whatever. He was just like, I'm interested in working with you. And I was like, I will just tell you now on behalf of the whole band that we are interested in working with you. Like,
I'm not even going to ask those guys. I'm just saying yes.
I mean, usually I like to run everything by them, but I was like, this is like exactly what we want. It's they have the knowledge and the resources, but they're not, saddling us with these expectations of, you need to be a TikTok star or creating content every day. Like he's like he doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about the algorithms. He just wants to support music that he loves.
Here. I don't want to freak people out. You're gonna see my legs for a minute here. My white ass legs. Speaking of their label, and I'm sure you got one of these, I would guess. But my buddy got this for me at the show.
Oh, very cool.
Which is the it's upside down here. This is Vesperian. This is the first new song, well, 3 songs from Wayfarer with David Eugene Edwards on vocal, Perdition's Crossing, of the upcoming new album. And did you snag one of these?
I have not snagged one of those yet.
Oh, it was at the fest, dude.
I know. I just I don't know. I didn't feel like dealing with records at the time, but I'm probably gonna pick one up.
Hopefully you can find one. There's only 300 of them. So I had my buddy get it for me. It's the funniest damn story. He's like, man, I don't feel like standing in lines. I'm like, come on, dude, don't be a dick. Pick me up one, will you? you're there and I'm not there. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't been able to find it online. It went up for pre-order, and I fear it might have sold out. They'll probably have some. If they have some left over, you can probably snag one. But here's the funny part. So I think this was $20, which that's cool. I'm good with that. My buddy sends it to me. Scott, if you're listening, sorry, bud, I gotta dime you out. He sends me this in a box that is like for an album size thing. It's like 4 times the album size. It's like this big. I'm like, I didn't order any posters or anything. What the hell is this thing? Guy came in yesterday. I open it up and it's the album, and I'm like, really, dude? They make like album sized things that aren't like
wheelers.
this thing. Yeah, record. Right? And this thing is like this. I have it over there. I got to take a picture of it. And then I'm like, hey, how much do I owe you? And he's like, well, it was $20 for the album and $16 for the shipping. I'm like, bro, did you have to send me? Huh?
I said media mail.
Media mail. Yeah, I got hammered. So, Scott, thank you for picking it up for me. Thanks for fucking me on the massive shipping. Holy shit.
Well, he could have also technically.
There he is. There he is. I knew he was here. I knew he'd be here.
Could have also technically got you a copy of our record, because that was the first time it was for sale anyway.
I didn't realize that.
They had both versions of the LP and the tape there. They didn't get the CD there in time, but yeah, it was really cool. I mean, we're waiting on our like copies that we're getting from the label, but that was the first time I got to see it and hold it.
Pretty cool, huh?
So yeah, I mean, this label, just their commitment to quality is fantastic. I mean, I got like the Stormkeep record and the Forceman record. So I have a couple of the Vesperian releases, and just, the attention to detail, the quality. I'm really excited to finally have an album of ours presented that way to people.
Yeah, yeah. Is it a gatefold?
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
It's just a single sleeve.
Inner? You got an inner with it? Like a sheet?
So so there's like a double-sided like lyric sheet. And then for the inner sleeves, he's doing this kind of cool branded like Vesperian inner sleeve where it's got the logo on there. Oh yeah, right there. So he's doing that. He's doing Obi strips, I think, only on like the first pressings of albums. I don't think he's doing them for the maxi singles, maybe. But
no, it's not on there. No.
Yeah.
Is yours gonna have an Obi?
Yeah, it's got an Obi.
All right, I want to get one of the blue ones. I don't know are you getting them or
we will.
Are you doing it through Bandcamp? You sending them out, or are you just letting them do all the distribution?
The label's doing all of that right now on Bandcamp, and a few other websites like Metal Blade has it. But I think the cheapest option's through Bandcamp, and that's fulfilled through the label. I gotta check with them to see what that is like once we have copies. If I can also put some online, or if I should just save them for shows, or what the case may be.
Right.
But yeah, they're up now, so through the label.
Speaking of shows, do you have anything upcoming?
We have a show next month. There's a band from LA called Private Prisons that's coming through. They're kind of like a cool sludgy type band. Playing with a cool local band called Garamaya, who kind of sound like Sumac.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then kind of like they're black metal, but kind of maybe more in that kind of like atmospheric black metal realm. This band called Ember Veil. So yeah, it should be a cool show.
I missed 2 other bands I wanted to reference in regards to Dry Wedding. Now you'll have to rewind to check out all the other bands we name dropped. But there are 2 other ones that I felt I recognized. And this is definitely where the goth thing comes in, okay? We already talked about Sisters and Fields. But this one even more than anything. And I'd be shocked if you'd be like, huh? Bauhaus. I definitely hear some Bauhaus in your more frenetic, noisier parts of your songs, where things are almost like feeling like they're going to come off the tracks, where things are getting kind of unhinged with the post-punk thing. And that ties very much into Bauhaus, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I don't know if they're a band that we've referenced by name, like in the practice space when we're working on stuff. But I
Uh-huh.
mean, I do love Bauhaus. Again, that might be part of my musical DNA to some extent. So I could see those things kind of coming out organically, even if they're not necessarily something like we reference. Because a lot of times,
Right.
like I'll be like, oh, like for example, like we've been working on music for the next record. We're almost like halfway done with the music for album 4 already.
Okay.
And
Great.
it's like, we were talking about Aranzi Pazuzu. There's a song where I'm like, I want to channel that like Aranzi, like hypnotism and kind of like
Yeah.
into something for a little bit. And so it's like, you'll hear the final thing. You probably won't even connect the two again because of that mutation. But like, there are like sometimes bands or songs or albums that we very specifically say like, ooh, like this is a cool jumping off point. Let's draw inspiration from this.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know if Bauhaus has ever come up collectively, but I mean, multiple guys in the band like Bauhaus. So
But here's another weird one. And you're gonna be like, what drugs is this dude tripping on? But in the guitar stuff, at times, not the twangy, country-fied Americana sort of, big tent, Baptist revivalist sort of things that are going on at times. You're not religious that I can tell at all in any of your music.
no.
Yeah. But there is that vibe, if you get what I mean, that which is what I always kind of, when I first heard 16 horsepower was the big thing that I was like, man, this is like going to a fucking fire and brimstone big tent revival in like 1880 out in the plains of Missouri or Kansas somewhere, where some fiery, because David Eugene Edwards got that fiery, otherworldly sort of sounding voice. And then I was shocked to learn they were from Denver. I'm like, this band has to be from somewhere in Arkansas, man. It's just got to be, right? But nah, that wasn't, or Oklahoma or something. But you have a little bit of that too, and that's where I would say the 16 horsepower vibe creeps in.
Yeah, it's like I mean, there are little drum techniques and things that Tom has done, like based on inspiration from 16 horsepower. Also, he's a huge Neurosis guy, so a lot of that kind of like tribal drumming comes from there. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking again.
But here's the weird one though, and I'm gonna see your face for this. I hear some Primus, man. I definitely hear some Primus in here, in the angular weirdness of some of the guitar stuff. And you don't strike me as a Primus guy, but I hear it.
I mean, Jared, maybe. I mean, I know that he in the past has spent some time with Primus.
Okay.
I really have not. I know like maybe one Primus song.
Right.
If you're hearing any of that, it's coming from Jared. It's not coming from me.
Okay. Well, real quick, let's jump into when you're playing live. What's your gear like? It looks to me like you're playing a Gretsch. Am I wrong or right?
No, I don't play a Gretsch.
What's the white guitar? Is that Dan Electro?
Jared has a Dan Electro he's been playing recently, a 12 string.
Okay, that's the 12 string. What's your main guitar though? The white one.
My 6 string is a there's a company called Eastwood. So this is the Eastwood Firebird, which is based on this old Australian guitar.
Okay.
And so yeah, Eastwood, they get a lot of licenses to old kind of vintage designs, and so
okay, yeah, because it's got that Gretsch Falcon sort of look to it. The weird, it's not like a typical. Well, I was going to say that's not a typical shape either. It's a bastard. That's a Dean Cadillac, but like it's kind of got that. I just think of the Gretsch Falcon or whatever it's called. That one looks kind of like it. So I was kind of curious what you use there. What kind of amp are you using? An effects chain do you use? You use all analog stuff?
Well, before I go there, I will say I jump around a lot. Like, well, Jared goes from a 12 string to a 6 string, and he does like weird tunings. I play the 6 string. I play a baritone a lot. A lot of the songs I play baritone, and that's also an Eastwood side jack. I did recently get a different baritone from them that I need to kind of do some modifications on. I'm gonna dump some Dunnable pickups in there for some extra kind of crunch.
Beef, yeah.
And add a Bigsby because for the twangy stuff I need some good vibrato. And then I play a 4-string tenor guitar also through Eastwood. It's like the Warren Ellis tenor. And like historically in the past, like on one record, I have a couple songs where I play a mando cello, which is 8 strings.
Oh, wow.
This record and the last record each had one song where I played lap steel. So I kind of like to jump around to different stuff just to kind of see what I can get out of them.
Right. Experimenting,
yeah. And then my amp is there's a boutique amp company here in the Pacific Northwest called Science Amplification.
I've heard of them, yep.
Yeah, and so that's the amp that I use. The model is called Mother. And it's kind of their take on like a high watt. So it has 2 gain channels. Like
nice. Okay,
yeah. Where the first gain channel ends, the second one begins. So you can have quite a bit of flexibility there.
It's definitely got a high watt sound to it, or even a little bit of a boxy sound. Your overall tones that you guys use.
Yeah, and then I think Jared has a Fender like Hot Rod DeVille or Hot Rod Deluxe. I don't know.
I have one of those. 410?
Or a Blues Deluxe. I can't remember. Anyway, it's a Fender tube amp. And then I do kind of favor pedals that that lean more into analog sounds than digital. And Jared same, I think, has quite a few that kind of, if they're not fully, analog, they're at least trying to get close to that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so I have all kinds of stuff on my board. I have I have like the Sun Life pedal. I have the Land Devices like harmonic percolator, which kind of gets you that Steve Albini kind of.
Okay.
I have different reverbs and delays. I have multiple like Strymon pedals.
Love Strymon, yeah. Great
that
stuff.
are kind of like my always ons for like reverb and just the overall tone shaping. And it's funny because like in 2023 all of our stuff got stolen on tour. Our whole van got stolen with all our gear in it.
What?
And the idea afterwards, I was like, I'm going to simplify things. I'm going to have like a smaller board. And then I ended up with more pedals.
It got worse.
Before. We got the van back. But we never recovered that gear. So
where was that at?
In Oakland.
Oh man, dude. Oakland, California.
Yes.
Oh,
But it was kind of interesting because we also just tried to embrace the silver lining of the situation, which was, okay, now we can kind of assess our previous setups. What did we like? What did we think was lacking? And so when we rebuilt everything, we were able to kind of just fine tune our overall sound. And I feel like that's why this third record probably has a certain sound that may differ from, the tones of the previous.
You had insurance, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we all had to go through our various like homeowners or renters insurance for the.
What a pain in the ass, though, man. People suck.
Oh, it was devastating, suck. But
and sadly, it's not uncommon at all with the music world. I mean, just it's happened to mega huge stars, and it's just kind of fucked, man. I mean.
No, for sure. I mean, now it's like my van is literally theft proof in multiple ways. So try it, see what happens.
Climb in there and it just explodes. There's detonators everywhere. Are you guys in a position as a band that if, say, a full-time touring band would come to you, say a Neurosis, for example, is like, hey, we're going to go out for 6 weeks in the States or 5 weeks in the States, whatever. Are you guys individually in a position where you could do that, or are you all working guys that would be like, oh man, what are we gonna do now? You know what I mean? Like
I mean, I think if it were that sort of opportunity, like, oh, you're doing this run with Neurosis and we can guarantee, you know, X dollars per day or whatever. I think everyone in this band would be willing to try and make that work.
okay,
You know,
yeah.
you know, we do want to get out there more. We want to push the band as far as it can go. So, yeah, I mean, if an opportunity like that landed in our laps, we would do whatever we could to try and make that work.
What do you do? I heard that you have a degree in creative writing,
Yeah.
and that you do that as your work. Now, I'm stupid, so help me out here. What does that mean? Because I don't really know what that means.
Well, I mean that has meant different things throughout my life. You know, I started after college kind of working at different, you know, PR and marketing jobs, and then eventually I worked for Discogs. I worked there for 3 years.
Oh wow, okay.
And so I got to write, you know, articles about, you know, the monthly, you know, best-selling records, but also like talk about individual albums and you know, all sorts of things. I just wrote articles and emails and whatever else needed to be written.
Okay.
So yeah, I worked for them for 3 years, kind of like in their in-house content marketing team. And then they did some layoffs, and unfortunately I was one of those people who were laid off. So then after that, I now, you know, for the last year and a half or so have worked at a firm that, you know, does works with different clients, and I work on the Fender account. So I just write
Oh, nice.
for Fender emails. I get to just talk about, you know, guitar specs and different things that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's like I you know, of course the Discogs job was the dream, because as a record nerd, like being able to write about records and get paid for it, I never thought was possible. But like, you know, this is also very cool because I get to talk about guitars and pedals and amps and things and
Things you're into. Yeah.
yeah, and so that's been great.
Yeah. Be weird if you had to like talk about tampons or something like that. Write about tampons. That'd be not fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, and like that's why.
Although if you're getting a check, I guess you got to do what you got to do, right?
I mean, if the check was good enough, I'd become a tampon expert. You know, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a pretty rough example there. Sorry, but that's my twisted sense of humor. So okay, so Back of Beyond. Let's play a track quick, and then we'll get you out of here. We'll let you talk about the track a little bit, and you have one song, Moss, which is that the first single that came off the album?
Arrowhead was the first single.
Oh, it was the first. Okay.
And then Moths was the second. And yeah, we released a music video.
You got a video for that one, right?
Yeah.
So that's linked in the description, I believe. And just to let everybody know, there are all the links for Vesperian, Bandcamp, Facebook. You don't have a website, I don't believe, right? Not like
no formal website.
Okay. And all that kind of good stuff is in there. The link for Metal Blade is there too. Even though, again, just to clarify for people that might be tuning in late, you're not actually signed to Metal Blade, the label. You're distributed by Metal Blade.
Yeah, and I will say, I think if you go through Bandcamp, it's a couple dollars cheaper than if you go through the Metal Blade site. So
yeah, Metal Blade's kind of pricey. I got to be honest with you. They are. They're one of those labels that jacks you like $10 for not 16, Scott, just 10. I'm busting his balls, and he knows that. So, yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think if there was any other major thing that I wanted to touch. Was there anything you wanted to touch on before we do the listening session here quick and then let you get out of here? Anything you wanted to mention at all that is upcoming, or anything you feel is important to people that are coming in fresh to this interview and to Dry Wedding? Is there anything you feel you want to impart to them as far as what you're all about, what the band's all about?
Well, to loop back to what you were talking about earlier, we have gothic elements, but we are not a goth band.
All right, yeah.
And if you're not even a big like goth or post-punk fan, there are a lot of metallic touches throughout, and that's something that I want people to know, because I've had people like message me lately being like, oh, I'm not usually into like post-punk, but like this is like, you know, working for me. And it's I think it's because like it's like we're working in like doom metal and black metal and noise rock and all these other little things in there, so it feels a little different than, you know, I think your traditional post-punk or goth records would.
I'm gonna piss you off now. I don't really hear the metal. Okay. But here's what I do hear. There are crunchy guitars. There are heavy guitars, but I don't hear them in the metal sense of
Sure.
heavy guitars. I hear them more in the sense of, if we're thinking in as far as an artist's palette, you know, there's not a lot of yellows and bright blues in your music. And by that I mean, if we're talking in a synesthesia sort of way, your music's dark. It's got a dark, cloaky feeling to it when you burrow into it. It's got this, and that's where I feel like the metal vibes might come from, or the heavier vibes, is that this, well, for example, I did want to do one thing here, and this might kind of further illustrate the point. Let me just pull this up. I had it up and then hang on one sec. The lyrics for Arrowhead, because you can tell you're a creative writer because your lyrics they're very nebulous, and they're not like, you know, little story about Jack and Diane, you know, that kind of thing. It's not that kind of music. Okay. It's not a narrative story beginning to end. It's a lot of, I have to think about what I'm hearing with these lyrics. And you may not even, what my interpretation of them might be versus what your original intent might be, worlds apart. You know what I mean? Which is good. That's usually a good thing for me. I don't like a lot of direct. I do like some direct stuff, but I don't like the hot chicks and get laid and party all night and let's do ounces of cocaine type lyrics. That's, you know, that's not cool. But so Arrowhead, which we're going to listen to, billowing smoke in the mouth of the canyon filled with cries, the promises of whispers reverberating, recollections rise. Words fashioned arrowhead begin to take flight. The hiss of the quarrels arching above the lip. Pointed threats tearing past, seeking to breach the skin. Snuff out my fire, stamp the embers till they're ash. Drape myself in dusty wool, flee on horseback, a formless mass. Every word I've said comes back to me an arrowhead. Rapid fire, the arrows speak. Ruptured skies, blazing memories. Every vacillating pledge, maybe next time. Every reply slung with rage. I tried, I apologize. Scurrying and slinking, ephemeral. I like that, man. That's a great word. Ephemeral escape. I set up camp in plain sight to accept the fitting fate. Let each arrow hit its mark. Take on the hurt to heal. I need to reckon with the way I've made others feel. Every word, ever said, comes back to me like an arrowhead. Now, a lot of interpretations there. You could go easily with not the Steel Panther stuff, man. No. I like Steel Panther for fun, but not for lyrics, trust me. Two interpretations there could be literally like you're watching an Old West Sergio Leone movie or Leone movie where you're a spaghetti western where you're kind of pulling words out of the ether to encapsulate what you were feeling about that. It also seems to me that it could be a more pointed, introspective commentary on and experiences you've had, maybe in relationships or friendships or romantic relationships or something like that. There seems to be two sort of threads winding through there, and you're not using you're not using everyday words. You're trying to kind of get pretty poetic about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with any of that? And like, give me your perspective. Not that I want you to tell me exactly what the song is about, unless you want to. But there's a darkness in those lyrics to me.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, everything I write is introspective. I just don't display it in a very, I don't know, I don't want to say simple way, but I don't, I'm not just going to be like, I am sad because I am thinking about mistakes I've made. Instead of doing that, I'm going to create like what I'd say is kind of like a loose narrative with very concrete imagery to kind of illustrate these thoughts and feelings. And so, on like the base level, if you just think like the imagery is cool because it's dark or it's got violent elements to it, or it's just like putting these very evocative images in your head, cool. But also like all of those things like are there for very intentional reasons. There are metaphors, there are symbolism, it's just, that's all in there. So it's very layered. It just depends on the listener and how deep they want to kind of unpack all of that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I guess the only one that's not crazy personal is the Serpent Box, because that was based on a book I read about snake handling churches in the early 90s.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But even then, I tried to kind of weave in like slightly personal things, about trusting people or not trusting people, people in positions of power abusing said power, etc. I mean, I could go on forever.
Like I'm reading this one line from the Serpent Box, which, these are some very poetic, and I'd say I don't mean this word in a negative way, because I'm trying to come up with the right word and I'm probably not going to get it right here, but they're flowery in a lot of ways in terms of adornment. And there's this line here: eaves crawling with paper wasps, the steady din of cicadas, however you say that word. I mean, it's like, who writes that kind of line? Like
me.
That you do. Right. I mean,
no, I don't take any issue with flowery, like poetic, like when I.
But what really stuck out to me, that line, one of the other guys, my favorite two lyricists are probably somewhat diverging kind of lyricists. Neil Peart, obviously, because of his universal, just incredible way with words, but his stuff was a lot more linear and direct than this, way more linear and direct. A guy that you're more akin to, and I don't know if you even know who this band is, but an 80s neo-prog band, Marillion, Fish, the singer Fish. Do you know them?
Wait, what is it?
The neo-prog band Marillion. Their singer's name is Fish. His nickname
I'm not familiar with that.
You should check them out, man. Mark my words, you should check them out. I don't know whether it's your type of music, but Fish's lyrics are some of the most deeply personal while being incredibly literate and deep and flowery. Okay. And I don't mean that word in a negative connotation. I mean it actually in a positive connotation, but it's not just very simple stuff. I mean, you're using some pretty deep images there. The crawling with paper wasp line is like, whoa. Like, I'm not even sure I can wrap my head around that, but it sounds wickedly cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's cool because it's like, if you just want to take it at that level, you can, like, these images that are now in your mind. But then if you also want to unpack like what these things might be representing, like those things are in there very intentionally. I'm a big Leonard Cohen fan, and Townes Van Zandt.
Oh, same here. He's great.
So I feel like, like lyrically, trying to kind of emulate some of that kind of style as far as these kind of deeply emotional songs, but kind of conveyed through these concrete images and like I said, loose narratives, because my stories don't have like a solid beginning, middle, and end all the time,
right?
So
were you you mentioned Cohen, and it just got me to thinking, are you much of a Jeff Buckley fan?
I'm actually not. I like Tim Buckley a lot, actually.
Yeah, his dad. Yeah.
Yeah, I think his dad was phenomenal. I've never Even as someone who like, I like to try some different things vocally and I try to push myself as a vocalist. I think, and you might give me some shit for this. I think Grace is an example of a person doing too much with their voice. I think
we're gonna disagree.
Yeah, I think it's impressive, but I don't think that you have to do all the things that you're able to do all the time.
That guy had one of the better voices in history, man. I'm sorry, I disagree with you. And
no, I'm not saying his voice was bad. I'm saying like
it just doesn't appeal to you.
Yeah, I think moments of restraint in his vocal approach would have made his voice hit harder for me personally.
I never got to see him. That's one of the great. He was dead by the time I learned of him, just dead. And that was a tough one for me because I'm like, man, there are those bands that I missed. I've seen, I don't know, 1,500 shows in my life, maybe 2,000. I don't even know. But there are those bands like Queen with Freddie Mercury. Never got to see him. David Bowie, who's probably my favorite overall artist. And you've got some Bowie-isms going on a little bit. There's some of that in there. But there's those things that I missed, and Buckley was one of those that I was like, fuck, man, that sucks. It just came into it too late, But all right, let's get into this track here quick and get you out of here. So I'm gonna play.
Sorry to Jeff Buckley fans. I respect his talent very much. Like I said, I was always more taken with Tim and his vocal approach and the music that he made.
All right, where the hell?
Oh, it's because you popped open the lyrics.
Yeah, I popped open the lyrics and I got lost.
First track, so
I got lost in my place. Let's do this. I have to do a quick thing here, so stay with me for a moment.
Okay.
And actually, I'm gonna mute you on my side while we play, as well as myself. And then when it's done, it'll take a second for me to pop you back on. But that way we won't have any echo or anything weird. So hang on just 1 minute. We're going to go now.
Canyon filled with cries. The promises of whispers. Reverberating recollections rise. What's fast and narrow will begin to take flight. silver glows are watching above the rim. All the blood staring past or seeking to reach the skin. Snow fell by fire, set the embers to their ash. Drain myself in dusty wool, feel those back and formless mass. Comes back to me, a arrowhead. Oh, every word I've ever said comes back to me, an arrowhead. Rapid fire, the arrows speak. Roaches skies, blazing memories, but every vessel and bridge maybe next time. Every road I swim with rage, I try. I set up camp inside to accept this fleeting thing. Let each arrow hit its mark, I'll take on the road to hell. I need to rock and roll, the way I made the laws. Feel. Comes back to me, but every word that I've ever said comes back to me, but every word that I've ever said comes back to me.
All right. There we go. Arrowhead. Arrowheads, right? Heads?
No, singular arrowhead.
Singular. Okay, Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Cool track. I mean, there's all the things that we talked about are in there. All those influences, I hear them. And but you guys have your own vibe. There's definitely something cool about it. And I hate to admit it, you're not going to see this very often, but Holm was right. So because he's usually wrong about everything when we talk about music. We fight about music like an old married couple. It's like, you know, he loves the 80s era Rush. I'm like, you know, and that 70s shit's garbage. I'm like, well, he doesn't say garbage, but we have these long text threads that go on for hours with us pissing on each other about our musical likes and dislikes. Yeah, we both like a lot of the same bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think our last one was recently. I was talking about, I've been in a real Chris Cornell vibe because that's another guy that I just absolutely love to death. Got to see and got to meet too, believe it or not. And I saw them open for Voivod, and I'm like, man, I'm a massive Voivod fan, but Soundgarden absolutely fucking destroyed them at that show. I mean, destroyed them.
Wow.
Like, it wasn't even close. It was so. This is back on Louder in Love. Chris was otherworldly, meteoric, otherworldly. And he's like, nah, that you know, and he's arguing that Voivod. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm just telling you, I know where you're coming from. But a lot of it's too is age and perspective, like where you came in, how you came in with that kind of stuff. And, you know, I was in my 30s when that stuff was happening. He was a teenager. So it's, and the old man's always right. That's all I have to say. So, tell me a little bit about that track and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, actually, I mean, that was the first one we wrote for this album. So we have been playing that one for quite some time now. And it went through like 4 or 5 different versions before we landed on that particular version. I had an idea for a song, and as we started working on it, it just wasn't really sounding the way I wanted it to. So we tried a version 2, and then that one caught someone's ear the wrong way. So we did like a version 3 and 4, and ultimately, yeah, landed on this version that you hear here.
Is that common in your writing? I mean, do you? I should say this. You said you had this idea. Are you a collective where everybody contributes to the writing process, or is it usually you or his name's Jared? Did you say?
Yeah,
guitar player. Are you guys usually the formative ones that come in with the riffs that start things, or how's that work?
Most of the time it starts with riffs I come up with.
Okay.
I'll just, you know, be at home and I'll just have an idea for maybe a riff or 2, sometimes maybe 4 or 5 riffs. I mean, it can totally just vary.
Sure.
So I'll come up with some initial ideas. I'll send them over to the band, and if they excite everybody, then, you know, the next time we have a practice where we can work on new material, we'll start playing around with that. Use that kind of as like the jumping off point. We don't necessarily always do like whole new versions of songs, but that kind of helped set the expectations for how we write songs now, as far as like, oh, once we're working on a song, if there is a part that is not pulling its weight compared to the others, we're going to rework it. We're going to change it. We're going to move it around. So like, yeah, our songwriting process has gotten more intense. You know, we kind of hold things to a higher standard at this point, and just, yeah, we will kind of just manipulate things or rework them until everything feels like it's fitting the right way.
Was that a typical situation with this album, or was that kind of like atypical? In other words, you know, because I do know that a lot of bands, we were talking about Cornell, you know, he would come in with fully demoed songs to the band as they got more and more popular because he was so prolific at writing. And that usually is the case with most bands. There's a dominant writer or a dominant force in the creation process, and then everybody fills in with their toppings. You know what I mean? Is that how it is for your band, or is Jared coming in with a song, or excuse me, are you coming in with fully fleshed out songs?
No.
Okay. All right.
And that's just kind of naturally the writing process that we fell into. It's like, I will come up with these initial ideas. So like, you know, I can, like I said, I'll record demos, send them to people, and it can be just a couple of riffs or whatever, and then bring that into the practice space. Sometimes, like, yeah, I don't have much of an idea beyond that. Sometimes it's a little more formed. We'll go, okay, I have these 4 different parts, and I think they could go in this order.
Yeah, okay.
And then, like, you know, someone will be like, oh, well, what if we rearrange the order? Or like, oh, I think these 2 parts need something in between. Like, what about this? And then they'll come up with ideas. I mean, and there are even examples where, like, you know, when we were writing, I think it was Sure as a Gun, that whole second half where the song pivots and completely kind of shifts into this whole other thing. That was just Jared being like, I have all these ideas. Like, I think the song like move into these pieces here.
Right.
And like, you know, the song Blood Red Vengeance started off with Tom having a drum idea, and there's like 3 layers of drums. So it starts with 1 and then 2 and then 3 as the song builds. And that's something he had wanted to do for a long time. So we just kind of wrote our stuff over his drum idea. So yeah, sometimes, like, you know, it will start with someone else's initial concept or idea, but most of the time it's like, yeah, I have these riffs or like pieces of a song, and then we will add to it and you know,
yeah, you're the embryo guy, and then everybody else is the add, you know, the collaborative sauce that kind of percolates it up to the finished product.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, I know some bands just kind of do freeform jams and stuff, and it's not that we haven't done that, but for me, it's always kind of helpful. Like, oh, we have this thing that's kind of anchoring the writing session, so we have this thing that can be repeated or whatever until people start to form their pieces that they like, and yeah, just kind of building everything from there.
Yeah. Any other comment on like the lyrical content of that song, like what you might have been driving at, or do you want to leave that vague?
I mean, I think maybe this one's a little maybe easier to connect all the dots with. I mean, I definitely think it's, you know, the difficulty of memory, you know, when you're thinking back to these mistakes or these things that you may have said that now kind of haunt you in this way. I wanted to kind of, yeah, like these like haunting memories or these haunting, you know, words that you spoke at some point in time kind of coming back to you. But instead of just being like, oh, you know, oh, my words are coming back to haunt me, I wanted to build a whole
narrative around it.
Yeah, and then just like a bunch of concrete imagery to illustrate that point. So yeah, just filtering through those difficult memories and things that you said or didn't say that you're now kind of coming to terms with, and the impact that you've had on people based on those, you know, things.
Yeah, I know. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. I have 2 I have 2 kids that, well, my youngest is turning 31 next week, 2 weeks from now. So not that far behind you. So, and we have a difficult relationship sometimes, and it's words that are said, things are said that you wish you hadn't said, or you wish you'd said them differently, or maybe the message was a good one, but it wasn't. I'm kind of a sledgehammer, or what they say, the bull in the china shop. I can be a little bit of a bull in the china shop sometimes with how I go about things, because I'm like, you know, my sensitivities are different to words than other people's are.
Sure. Yeah.
I think we're all like that, right? So, but yeah, man, it's a really good album. I'm not lying when I say this. I listened to the other 2 albums. I mixed them up in chronological order. Sorry about that, but I did. And I think I don't know them well enough at this sitting to say there's been this linear advancement or decline or anything like that, and I wouldn't do that here anyways in front of you. If it was a decline, obviously I'd be like, man, your new album sucks, dude. That last album was killer. No, I wouldn't do that. But I hear there's, first of all, I hear a linear thread to your sound, so that's a good thing. You have your own sound, even if it is of otherness. You know, you're plucking your influences to create this thing that is Dry Wedding, and you have a uniqueness. That's the other big thing. There's not a lot of bands out there that sound like you currently, which is a good thing. Does it break through the din? Who knows? But I think as artists, you know this as well as I do, that you create to please yourself first.
Yes.
And then you go, I wonder if anybody else would dig this, or I wonder if anybody else would want to hear this, And when you catch an audience or of a few people, I'm always amazed that sometimes I meet a lot of musicians, and I'm sometimes amazed at how they're all sensitive to some degree, particularly in the beginning. But I'm always kind of blown away by how some artists are like, man, I can't believe that my stuff resonates with you that way. You know what I mean? Have you run into that ever, where you talk to someone after a show and they're like, they're not fanboying, but they're like, dude, like this touched me in this way. Has that happened for you at all?
Yeah, and it is still like, and I don't know what this says about me, but it's like, I know what we do is weird and it's not for everybody. So I still like, even though it happens pretty often where people will say nice things or say they've connected with it in some way, it's still hard for me to believe for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just like a weird, like self-conscious thing or what, but I'm just
probably
like, I'm making this weird thing. I just kind of expect that no one will like it. So then when people do, it's just, I don't know, it's very nice, but it's still hard for me to fully grasp sometimes.
Well, it's a good album. It's a unique album. You guys definitely have your own sound. I hope for your sake, somebody catches on and throws you on a cool tour package that, would get you out east again, not on your own. I mean, that's a tough one. But I mean, there's a number of different artists. And I will say this, I'm friends with Albert, know him pretty well. So, if you could get to play a Denver decibel or a Philly decibel in April, or that would be a really cool thing. It would be a big step in the exposure ladder, I would think, for you guys. So hopefully that, getting that nice, would they give you? I didn't, because I haven't seen the recent decibel. What'd they give you?
So, okay. So this will be my last interesting story, but
Okay.
so we actually met the guy who did the review at Fire in the Mountains, and he was doing a panel with Philip, who runs our label, and Chris from Profound Lore, and a guy from Bandcamp. And
was it Bruni? Was it Chris Bruni?
Yeah, it's Chris Bruni. So the guy moderating the panel was this decibel writer, and Philip kind of told the story about how he got connected with us, and then at the end of the panel, the guy moderating it says, "Oh, like if you haven't heard the Dry Wedding album, like, you need to. It was my surprise album of the year. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 in the next decibel." So then we talked to him afterwards, and he tells us that he actually initially gave it a 10 out of 10, but he was kind of told, like, no, we don't really do that.
We don't like to be too cool to the artist.
But then it printed with an 8. So I don't know.
You're confused now, Chris. What's the deal?
I'm a little confused by all, but it was a very glowing review, very nice. Yeah, the guy who wrote it's name's Tim Mudd. He was so nice and had so many nice things to say about the record. So
okay,
that was very cool.
I don't know if I know Tim. I've probably met him, but I don't know if I know him off the top of my head. Yeah, man, that would be a really cool one. Or latching onto a tour, even if it was a tour package where you're opening.
Yeah.
Or, even if it's a 4 or 5 band bill where you're the opening band. I think I went to see 23, I think it was. Might have been 24, but I think it was 23. Necrofire, you familiar with them?
Yeah.
Christian Larson. Mm-hmm. And actually, I don't think they were the opener. I think Worm might have been the opener. I think it was Worm. No, there was one other band. Anyway, Necrofire now, they're playing a lot of big fests. And I mean, they just played MDF, and of course, Christian As Hell's. Their bass players playing in Nevermore now.
They're on Metal Blade. They're
on Metal Blade now. That's right.
Yeah.
They got the Metal Blade nod. Daubers in Oceans and tons of other. So it always does come down to two things: who you know, where you can back channel and figure out a way to get to be seen by somebody that has some sort of influence, and not the TikTok thing, man. Like, I think my channel's not grown because I won't do TikTok. I just refuse to do it. I do too much on Instagram. I always feel like, God, like, shut the hell up, dude. But I always want to share my concert stuff because I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do it. And also, you know, I do think people enjoy that. My hiking stuff, maybe not so much, but whatever. It's my vlog, man. You don't want to watch, you don't have to. I don't care. My political stuff, I know, probably ruffles some feathers, but that ain't gonna change, man. That's here to stay until that guy's out. But yeah, it's who you know and the quality of what you do, and finding that core group of audience people that are gonna find it and go, whoa, this speaks to me. This is cool. So, Davey, man, I hope you enjoyed the interview. I know we talked a lot. It was a long one, but you saw my other stuff, so you should have known.
I had a sneaking suspicion, but yeah, no, I did very much enjoy it, and I really appreciate you having me on. So thank you so much.
The funny thing is, I have not been feeling well, as I've told you, for the last 2 weeks, and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm going to struggle through this. But if there's one thing I'm good in life at, it's yakking. So, and I think I do ask good questions, and I think I do, you know, bring out insightful points for people to experience, and I hope I did that for you here. So any last words?
No, like I said, just thank you so much for having me. And yes, you did ask some very insightful things, and yeah, I just appreciate you having me on and letting me yap about the record a little bit.
Yeah, third album out on Vesperian, just came out on Friday, July 31st. It is called the Back of the Beyond. Back of the Beyond. And it's a cool album, man. You should definitely go check it out. If you liked what I played for you, that one song, then go listen to the rest of the album, because there's as good or better tracks on it, actually. So, and go back and check the other 2 albums out. Mention the names of those again. I'm sorry, that's where I'm gonna fail.
The Longer Road is the first one, and Sway is our second one.
Sway, okay, yeah. Sway, I only got one listen in.
Okay.
Because I thought it was the first one, and I just didn't get back that far. And the second one was, or the first one was?
The Longer Road.
The Long?
E-Road.
E-Road, The Long and Road, yeah. There's a song in there that I was going to play that everyone should go listen to. Help me out. Not Tristessa. What's it called?
Tessera?
Tessera. I was going to say Tristessa. That's Smashing Pumpkins. Sorry. I'm getting tired. You can tell I'm kind of like mixing stuff up. That's all super cool. I really dug that song. The rest of that album is very good too. So, and you can really hear that that's where the impetus for where you guys started to create your sound was there on that album. So it's not like I wouldn't say it's a lot different than this album. It's just maybe a little more moodier in a more low key way, versus this album has a little bit more piss and vinegar in it, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hang loose a minute. We're gonna end there. A couple of upcoming things. Sorry. Let me pull this up. But I can't remember everything. Okay. I've got Robert Lowe from Ex Solitude Aeternis. He's coming on the 14th. So that's next Friday, I think. He is living in Norway now, and we're going to be talking about Disciple of Doom, Grief Collector, some of his other stuff. He is no longer in Solitude Aeternis, as people know. I kind of made it clear that I was going to ask him about that. We'll see if he answers that. He may or may not answer what happened there. I don't really know for sure. I think his wife, who's his PR person, was a little reluctant at first. I said, yeah, but people are going to want to hear him at least say, I don't want to talk about it. So I'm going to ask. But Robert, super cool guy the first time I interviewed him. So he's coming on the 14th. That's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, though, because he's again in Norway. On the 30th, on the August 29th, myself and Kellen from Killing 4 Company and Logan from Beard Metal Snob. We're going to dig into the studio catalog of Ulcerate, Australia's Ulcerate. Sick ass band. I don't know, man. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm not sure I'll be able to keep my sanity by the end of that 7-album run there, but we're going to give it a shot. That's starting at 9 o'clock Saturday night. And then there's a couple other interviews I'm working on that I can't really get into just yet. But in September on the 12th, my buddy Dane Perry from Australia and I are going to be talking about, yeah, it's got to be done, the first 8 albums of Dream Theater. And I titled the deep dive, A Fortune in Time Signatures. If you know, you know. That is coming on the 12th of September at 8 p.m. my time. It'll be in the afternoon at his time, or morning at his time. So those are the things that are lined up and planned for right now. And by the way, YouTube, this message is for you. I have been at 1,860 subs, between 1,850 and 1,860 for like 3 months. And every time I get 4 subs, they disappear overnight or the next night. What's going on, guys? Come on, YouTube. What is your deal, man? Something's up. Something sneaky's going on there. Literally, I kid you not, I have been at a get up to 1860, and the next day I wake up, it's 1858. Then it's 1852. Then it's 1854. It's like, what the hell is going on? So, been a weird run the last couple of months with YouTube. So, all right, Davey, hang on a sec, okay? Everybody have a good night, and thanks for being here, and check out the Back of the Beyond on Vesperian from Dry Wedding.